go ahead and start right off with Coach Faulkner. Yep.
Coach, I wonder if you could give us a little background on, how the conversation started between you and Coach Key and Georgia Tech.
Well, I think, after our last game of the season, that's kind of when things picked up at the last place I was at. Coach and I have known each other for a long time, going back to when I was in high school. He hosted, which is now my brother-in-law, on a recruiting visit. So we've had a lot of, time, relationship, for the last, 20 years. So we've never worked together. We've always stayed in touch. I've always respected what he's done and the places he's been, the people he's worked with. I appreciate the way he goes about doing things and the approach that he takes. A lot of the same beliefs that I have. So, it was an easy transition, and I couldn't be more excited to be here. I think we got a great staff. We got a bunch of kids that are eager and hungry to learn and get better every day, and that's what it's all about.
Coach, after I've dug up some clips of various offenses you ran over the years, and very wide open, and then obviously you were at Georgia, slightly different style, and Coach Key's talked a lot about tailoring things to personnel. Kind of what are your sort of core philosophies? What are you looking for offensively, and what do you feel like maybe you guys will be the identity, I guess, of this offense?
Yeah, we're that's the thing we want to come out of spring is an identity. But the number one thing that I believe in is finding a way to get the players the ball, all right, getting the right guys touches, getting them in space so they can make plays. We want to be able to control the game with tempo and whether that's fast, slow, in and out of the huddle, different ways to do that. But, like I said, we're gonna establish an identity throughout the course of spring. Right now, we're still searching for that. We're still looking for the standard, right? There is no standard yet. We're establishing that right now, and hopefully we'll be able to pass that on down the road, But, yeah, get the playmakers the ball in space. It's about those guys getting the ball, being able to do things with it, and, create explosive plays is a big part of what we want to do. Obviously protect the football, be good on third down, be good in the red zone, and this day and age, the quarterback's got to be able to make plays with his feet, So, those are things that we're looking for in spring, trying to, be able to come out of the end of spring with some of those answers right there and establish that identity, right? So football's always evolving, I think as a staff we were able to get together and spend a bunch of late nights, early morning to late nights over the last 3 months together and kind of building this thing the way we want it to be. This is Georgia Tech. This will be Georgia Tech's offense, and we're all aligned with that same vision. Like I said, we got a great staff. They all got great ideas, different backgrounds, and we're able to kind of, put that together and make this our own.
Over the last 3 or 4 years, the tight end has not been involved very much in the Georgia Tech offense. How do you like to get your tight ends involved, and what is Georgia Tech getting in the transfer from Georgia?
I think the biggest thing is just like any offense, right now, obviously the toughest position and probably the most important position in all of sports is the quarterback, right? Well, the tight end is evolving, and you're seeing it throughout the National Football League. Those guys are getting, huge paydays because they've got to be versatile. They've got to be able to run. They've got to be able to catch. They've got to be able to block in the run game. They've got to be able to pass protect, So we want to, we're going to play to their strengths. Obviously, we'd like to be able to stretch the field, get them the ball if they're able to do that, but they've got to be able to block. But they'll be a big part of what we do. I believe in that position. I think it helps the offense go. It helps you be versatile. As far as Brett goes, Brett's just got some familiarity with what we've called things, but, he's got work to do just like the rest of them. Glad he's here. I think we've got a great room. Dylan Leonard is a guy that I've been extremely, extremely pleased with. Billy Ward's come on, done some really good things, and obviously Luke's he's still out with an injury. And then we've got some other guys. Jackson Long's a young guy that's coming around as well, and excited about the room. I think we've got some depth, and we'll just continue to play around the strengths of what these guys can do.
Coach, we've got one back here for you.
Hey, Coach. So obviously, coming from Georgia, people are going to see this offense going to look a lot like what they did there. So I guess basically, what would you say is kind of your style and how you like to run things?
Yeah, I think obviously I spent 3 years there, right? But I've been other places as well: Southern Miss, Arkansas State, Middle Tennessee. And one thing that we were able to do is all those places we're going to try to play to the strength of our team, right? What the kids can and cannot do. I want to play. I don't want to do things that they can't do, right? Will there be elements of all those places? Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of, evolving and being around different guys and learning from different people. And I think I've been very, very fortunate over the last several years to learn from some of the best guys in the business.
Okay.
Buster, excuse me. I'm not sure you had a chance to talk about this, but what was your motivation and what was the opportunity to come here? Why did you elect to take this opportunity?
I think this is the best opportunity that I could have been provided. I think I'm the luckiest man in the world. Being from the state of Georgia, this is where I want to be. I don't want to be anywhere else. I actually told my wife back mid-season this would be the only place that I would want to be, and this is I could not be more excited. Being from 20 minutes down the road, growing up watching, Georgia Tech. Joe Hamilton, Jeremy Myers was a teammate of mine, one of the best football players I've ever been around back at Parkview. And just to be here in this great city, great state. I think it's the best state in the country as far as high school football goes. We got a son who's in high school. I want him in this state and finish up, his career. So Coach Key was obviously a big part of that. And like I said, and the way we're aligned in his beliefs, and I think he believes in the right things. I think he believes in people. The way he went about hiring people is exactly kind of the way I see things. So, yeah, man, I'm excited. I really am. Truly feel like to be, the luckiest guy in the world.
Kelly.
Obviously, you have sort of somewhat experienced quarterbacks, but not guys that have been full-time starters, no kind of defined guy yet. Is that helpful? There's only 3 in camp, and then just how do you approach that competition with the quarterbacks, and what are you looking for from the guy that you want to run your offense?
Well, obviously, we've had some guys, that, Zach, ended up starting and ended up getting hurt, so he has, been at least for a few weeks a starter and understand what it takes to be a game prep. Obviously, Haynes, he won a couple starting jobs over at A&M and battled through some injuries, so he's been in that same, he's felt that same pressure. And then same thing with Zach Gibson. So, all 3 of those guys have kind of, at least at some point, been the starter for a couple weeks during the season and have had to feel that pressure. So, the beautiful thing is Coach Weinke and I are agreeing the same thing when you're looking for a quarterback. You're looking for a guy who's the toughest guy on the field, bottom line, right? He's got to be extremely tough, got to be a great leader. All the intangibles, that gets lost in the quarterback position. And if you look across the country, to me, those are usually the best players, the guys that have the right intangibles. So, be able to run our offense, do the things that we want to do, and then obviously we'll tailor to what they can do or whoever ends up winning that job. Right now, they're all 3 getting reps, and I don't see that changing anytime at all in the near future. So excited about the room. I think they're all wired the right way. We're continuing to develop them. And I think we're very fortunate we got Coach Weinke coaching those guys, and I'm really excited about that. So we just got to continue to get better each and every day. And one thing we talk about is we're not worried about tomorrow. We tell them be where your feet are, and it starts at that position, right? And, everybody's having practices right now. Everybody had off-season mat drills, right? How do we do it better than they do it? And that's the biggest thing that we're preaching to those quarterbacks, and they got to be the messenger from us. You're the coach on the field.
Right.
The wide receiver position lost both starters plus a slot receiver from last year. What are you seeing from the competition there? And I know you got some transfers and some young guys that, are trying to fight through injuries from previous years.
Yeah.
How is the competition there?
Obviously coming in, it was a position, of concern just because you had those guys leaving, but that would be anywhere that you are. But honestly, I couldn't be more excited about a room, right? There are guys they're hungry. I think we've got some size, we've got some speed, and we just got to continue to develop them, right? They hadn't played a lot, all right, and that's okay, all right, over the next few weeks through spring, and then obviously summer will be big, is just getting those reps, and we're just going to keep repping and repping and repping. A guy that I've been extremely encouraged with and still battling, the wrist injury, obviously, is Leo Blackburn. The guy comes to work every day with a smile on his face, and that's exactly what you want, so he's been great. Malik Rutherford's a guy that I don't know if he's probably ever gotten the credit that he deserves, but man, he's quick. Excited about him. Obviously, Christian Leary is a guy who's had a lot of reps, and he's come in and done some good things. Abdul's shown up. We just continue to work through that, right? We're too deep across the board, and we're going to continue to develop them, continue to work with them, and hopefully we continue to see strides each and every day. I know today was a lot better than the previous practice.
Anything else?
I'm curious. Kirby Smart obviously came from Alabama and Coach K. I'm curious if you've seen just in the culture or the way they do meetings or anything like that, where you see kind of the same sort of hints of, I kind of know where this probably came from.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime that you're obviously at a place like that, you take a lot of things that you can do, and yeah, there are a lot of similarities. You know, the biggest similarity is, you know, this is Coach Key's alma mater, right? So it means a lot to him, all right? And you feel that every day, all right? And I think I think it's great. I think it's awesome, you know. So and that's a similarity, you know, obviously at Georgia as well. But you know, yeah, there's a lot of similarities. You know, the way they practice, the way we do things, meet, walk through. A lot of that's, you know, a lot of carryover. And there's some other guys on the staff that have been at those places as well, and they understand, you know, kind of, you know, how that practice structure set up.
Coach, I was just curious, as you kind of look at your running back room, just kind of, you have a lot of different types of running backs, a lot of different styles of running back. Kind of what are you looking for there, and what have you seen from that group so far? Obviously, you guys, that's something you probably learn a lot more about in pads, but just kind of what are you seeing?
That's exactly right. We'll learn a lot more in pads. You know, I believe in position versatility. I want guys to be able to run, be able to catch. You know, I don't want just a running back that can just run the ball and struggles catching the ball out of the backfield. We want to be able to get them the ball in space, throwing it to them, handing it off to them. The biggest thing that I've seen out of that group is their ability to learn, right? They've done a really good job of picking this up. Norval McKenzie, I've worked with him in the past. To me, he's one of the best teachers in the country, and, you know, at coaching that position. I'm getting them to understand the why behind the what, you know, so just been, again, pleased with them. We got to continue to get better. You know, the first blitz walkthrough, I thought they did a great job of picking things up for the first time doing it. And, you know, just like I said, just continue to get better.
Anything else? Kelly?
You know, obviously you were credited a lot by Stetson Bennett and for his development and success. And he was obviously a guy that didn't, on paper, wasn't the prototype, and you had an arsenal of high-profile quarterbacks. Just how do you make that evaluation when you go and look at it and are deciding who you want to be the quarterback? You talked about toughness and those things. Is there something in particular that you saw there and that you're looking for your quarterback here to run the offense that clicks, that maybe is that light bulb moment where you're like, oh, this is a guy, despite maybe what outsiders think?
Yeah, I think I kind of alluded to it earlier, right? The one thing that he had was he was the toughest, probably the toughest human being I've ever been around, you know, so that was, you know, for me it was simple. You know, he was tough, smart. I'm still looking for those same qualities, and, you know, obviously he possessed all those, and, you know, he's been able to go on and do great things, and I'm pulling for him, you know. But, yeah, we want our guys to, no matter where I'm at, whether it's NFL, Pee Wee, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for tough guys that are smart, that have all the intangibles at that position.
Okay. Coach, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
We are going to Europe. They do like one soda.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started with quarterbacks coach Chris Weinke. Go right up for questions for Coach. Ready to run?
You obviously know all about Pyron and Gibson. You have a new quarterback in the room in Haynes. How would you describe him as a quarterback compared to the other two?
Yeah, I think they're all unique in their own little way. I have a history with Haynes. I had recruited him at a previous stop and built a really good relationship with him. He's the son of a coach, so I think we always like those kids that are sons of coaches. He's been around football his whole life. His football knowledge is really, really good. Obviously been a starter in the SEC. He understands it. He's really competitive. He's athletic. So I think having that relationship prior helps in knowing the guy a little bit. What I like right now is all three guys are competing. They're all competitive. They all bring a little bit different skill set to the table. But very pleased with, after 2 practices, their approach, how they're going about their business. They are learning some new things. We do have some carryover. So the two Zachs are probably a little more familiar with the verbiage. Haynes has learned it. He picks it up quick. So it'll be a competitive spring throughout the course of trying to get equal amount of reps with those three guys and let them compete. And they know that and understand that. And I think have done a pretty good job after 2 practices.
Kind of how does your role differ now? You get the co-OC title, and how's that relationship with Buster, and kind of how do you guys see that kind of working?
Yeah, it's been really good. It's Coach Key spent a lot of time once he was named the head coach in terms of identifying the types of people he wanted on his staff. You've heard him say it, and we hear it every day, the importance of the type of men that are in this room that are mentors to these players. And when he put this staff together, I was heavily involved with that process, so I had a chance to meet all of these guys prior to hiring them. Very excited about the staff that we put together on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, having a little bit of a role change in terms of being the co-offensive coordinator. It's been wonderful working with Buster. We work hand in hand together. He has some knowledge from some different schemes in his past, and as well as I do, and we cohesively have worked together from the day he got here until now. So it's a collaborative, really piece of work that we're trying to create an identity. We'll know exactly who we are, or a better idea of who we are by the end of spring. But it's been great working with not only Buster but the other guys in the room as well.
Chris, you mentioned the verbiage. I'm curious, how much has it changed, and how much has there been you've been able to keep from what you had before?
Yeah, so we're gonna try to carry over as much as we possibly can. When you start talking about building an offense from the ground up, which we've done, we've gone to the basic fundamentals of tearing it all the way down to every single thing that we'll do offensively. And that's where I think Buster leans on me a little bit in terms of the verbiage. So we'll carry over whatever makes sense, and then we'll create new things, and obviously Buster will have the final say in all of that. But I think the ability to be able to carry over some of those things to simplify it for the quarterback. We all understand this offense is going to run through the quarterback, and the better understanding he has and his functional ability to be able to process information will be crucial in terms of our success in this offense.
On Monday, Coach Key talked about what he expects from the quarterback competition, and he likes the word toughness, and mental and physical. What are you expecting on a daily basis from the quarterbacks?
Yeah, we start every meeting with that word. And I think a lot of people don't relate toughness to the quarterback position. Since my playing days and since I started coaching, it's always been the first word. Okay, I want smart, tough quarterbacks, and I think those guys show that every day. I think the mental and physical toughness that you need to play this position, the really good ones have it. Coach preaches it every single day. I reiterate it. We're an extension of Coach Key, and I think the quarterbacks have bought into it. And I think it's a mentality. It's an approach every single day. In my room it says how we do one thing's how we do everything. Okay, and there's a standard in our room, and I know Coach says we haven't created a standard yet for this football team, which we haven't because we're still trying to create an identity. But there's a standard in the quarterback room that will never change. I'm not wavering, and the standard's a standard. And we have to set the expectation for the football team. We've got to show great leadership. We got to be functional thinkers. But above all else, we got to be mentally and physically tough. Coach, how you doing? Good to see you.
And you were talking before about splitting up reps. And I'm curious, is it as specific as day one you're going to be the one and you'll be the two, you'll be the three, and the next day, or is it a little more kind of feel oriented?
No, so the way I do it is I don't let them know when they're getting the reps, right? And so each of them will get reps with the ones and the twos. And I want them to be able to come off the sideline and go in and operate a play. So I think it's important they understand that, right? And in the midst of that, they know that they're competing. So every rep is being evaluated, whether they start that rack with the ones or they have to come off the sideline and be with the ones or the two. So I mix it up every single day and try to get equal amount of reps. It will vary a little bit from a day-to-day basis. And as we continue to move through this process, as guys show me what they're capable of, then those reps will continue to change.
With, obviously Zach, Pyron, and Haynes King both coming kind of off some injuries and stuff, are they both kind of a full go? Are you comfortable with where they're at, so you can see a truly accurate picture of where they're at? Yeah,
so I think, when you have guys coming off an injury, it's a little unique at the quarterback position because they're not getting touched, which is good, right? We need to get them out there, get reps. Coach Key has been adamant about guys staying away from the quarterback to allow them to operate. Zach Pyron has come off of his surgery very nicely. He worked the rehab, and then Haynes King coming with a little bit now. He's worked hard in the training room, but those guys are ready to compete. I think what happens is when we blow the whistle to go out to practice, we're not looking at those guys as guys with injuries. They're healthy, they're out there competing, and that's what we want out of them on a daily basis. And so I'm evaluating them like they're all healthy.
Identify yourself first before you
Hi, Brent Key with the Birmingham Post-Herald. Who's the starter? Who's the starter at quarterback?
Coach, I'm going to start today, okay? But our starter is going to be determined after we evaluate these guys throughout the spring practice, how they go about their business throughout the summer.
Who do you think the starter will be?
And then we'll also evaluate them throughout the course of fall. So I think all three of them can be starters, Coach.
Which one, if you had to put your money down on it, which one would it be?
Yeah, I think all three are capable because they're ready to go, Coach.
Which one do you want to be the starter?
I want all three of them to be able to play at a very high level.
Is the level as high as you played as a collegiate quarterback?
We're working towards that, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
You got to follow that, right?
You obviously have you lost 3 starters from the receiver position, including the slot, and you have new faces. How is that chemistry developing between the quarterback and the receivers?
Well, I think it goes back to our off-season program. I think A.J., our strength coach, and his staff have done an outstanding job of setting a mentality in the weight room, which is carried over not only into our meetings, but now into practice. And I think when you look at it, when you get buy-in by the players, they start to play at a high level. They play with energy. The more reps they get, the more confidence they play with. I can tell you this, I'm pleased with the guys that we brought in. Every team is going to lose players every year at different positions. Obviously, the receiver position is always crucial in terms of the ability to have explosive plays. And I think when you look at the guys that we brought in from the portal, as well as the excitement about these young kids that are our high school kids that are going to be joining us that aren't even out there yet, feel very good about the receiver position. Those guys are working hard. Again, it's a work in progress because they're learning a new language. But I think if you just sit out there and watch those guys compete, I think that we've got a pretty good product in that room. Feel very excited about their abilities. I think you replace a guy like Nate that left us with a transfer in from Alabama and Christian Leary, who's very talented. But more importantly, you got a guy on our roster that I think is a unique, dynamic player in Malik. He's been outstanding. Love his ability. It is our job to get the ball in his hands. You got a guy like Abdul who comes from a smaller program, okay, but he's a longer guy. As he continues to learn, I think you'll see a lot of production out of him as well. DJ Moore coming off of a surgery. I don't know that there's a harder worker in this program. So feel very good about that room right now and then the additions that are coming to us. So we're excited about it.
We'll wrap up with Ken and Kelly.
You'd mentioned AJ, and actually I wanted to go back to something you said before, that you got to know a lot of the coaches that have come here. I was curious, you worked with AJ at Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, And then I was curious just for your thoughts on Jeep and Norville, what you've seen out of them too.
Worked with who now?
AJ Artis?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So our strength coach, yes. So I have a history with AJ. When we were going through this process and trying to find someone, I highly recommended AJ. He was the number 2 guy at the time at Tennessee with us. Our head strength coach went on to the National Football League with the Giants, and AJ took over, and then obviously through the coaching change, but became highly recommended from numerous people. My personal relationship with him, I shared with Coach Key, and then he went through the process and interviewed a number of people. But I think what stands out with AJ is young, he's energetic, okay? And don't mistake knowledge just because he's young, right? Very smart. When you talk about technology involved in what we're trying to do in the weight room, he brought technology with him. I think the kids see it. We're seeing the results. So that's a huge bonus for our program. I think that position sometimes is overlooked, maybe the most important staff member in an organization because of how much he's with those players. And then you look at the rest of the guys on the staff, man, it's just been, the room's been really good. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different line coaches. The energy that Jeep Wade brings, his success historically at the places he's been, his schemes, I think will help us tremendously. And you bring a guy like Norville in, right? I mean, a running back coach that left his alma mater to come here, right? You bring a young receiver coach who's kind of worked through the ranks of high school and only spent 2 years in college. I mean, we got a really good room. It's very exciting. We work well together. And I think you're bringing a lot of different ideas, and that we'll hone them in and hopefully put a good product on the field.
Scott, if you wrap us up, please.
The one thing that I sort of noticed a little bit, I mean, obviously we just got to watch a little bit yesterday, but it seemed like the quarterback arm strength was a little bit better. Is that something that you were kind of pushing and have seen maybe even through strength and conditioning and the brief amount of time AJ's had to work with them? But I know with like Zach Pyron, a couple of his deep throws looked a little stronger. Is that something that you're seeing as well, and is that something you guys were focused on?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that I focused on it. I think naturally that maturity starts to kick in. We get in the weight room, and those guys continue to focus on that. Those guys know it, and they would say the same thing. I'm not necessarily concerned about how far they can throw it. I think my emphasis has been, hey, do we have the ability to be able to throw it with anticipation and throw it to where we're supposed to throw it? If you're out at practice, you hear me harping on ball placement all the time. Those guys understand it, the importance of it. I truly believe the quarterback's built from the ground up. So a lot of my emphasis is talked about in the feet, right? And I'm constantly coaching them on every rep. And I think what we've seen is better arm strength because of the strength program, okay? Probably more of a focus by those guys, understanding, okay, when to let the ball go, what it's supposed to look like, and then playing with a little confidence. I think that always helps naturally with arm strength.
All right, Coach, thank you.
All right, guys. Good seeing y'all.